What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Panthers Nation Network. This is episode 7 now. Crazy to think about it that we've already been able to get this many in. It seems just like, like yesterday that we just started doing this, and it seems like each episode's like the joy of doing it for the first time again. And for those who don't know, this group, we've been doing this almost a year now.
Yeah.
It's coming up on a year here from the old podcast, and that's even crazier. I remember Shontis and I standing at our school just talking about, every week, talking about how the Panthers are either blew the game, which they were doing last season, or, actually doing well and surprising us. And we kept talking like, we should have a Panthers podcast. And here we are now.
It's crazy.
And we're here, and it's crazy. And again, we just thank y'all for all the support that you've been giving us and all the love you've been showing us. We really you don't understand how much it means to us. I wish the Panthers would show us a little bit more support. I wish they would listen to us, because I think we're at least a little bit on the nose. I don't know about y'all, but I think most of our views are pretty there. And
I think we've been pretty spot on. I think everybody's pretty much been spot on with what they said. You love talking about the trenches. You've been correct. I love talking about how our offensive play calling could be better. I've been correct. And Jeff is, while Jeff comes in with the hot takes, he's usually been correct for the most part. So I really can't even say much about that. So I think we've been pretty on point.
And see, I blame Jeff actually for this quarterback controversy, because the minute he said the gap was small, then the gap started going away, and Teddy's been playing the way he's been playing.
Listen, here's the gist. Here we go. We're gonna blow it up right now.
Oh gosh.
Teddy Bridgewater is a very good backup quarterback.
See, and it sucks. I don't even want to say that.
I'm just argue it.
I mean,
it's hard to argue it now. I'm not gonna lie. It's getting to that point.
See, I was talking with a guy who was listening to the podcast over the comments. We talked about this exact same thing, and like I've always been a proponent of you can't really blame one player for how a game goes, but also the quarterback is held to a much higher standard than every other player. Jeff and I got into this a lot over the offseason about Ryan Tannehill, because I thought, when you have a really good team around you, the quarterback is the person who's supposed to be able to propel it to the next level. And when you don't, when your quarterback can't do that, that's how you lose ball games. If your quarterback can't, he's got to be that guy. So it's a tough line to walk. And I know it sounds hypocritical, but for Teddy, I want to say it's not all on him, because I think when we talked about it, I think it's a lot on the coaches. Because this is a very young team, and when you have that raw talent but you don't have that veteran, kind of presence on your offense or defense, it's up to the coaches. And I understand they're young coaches in the NFL, but you got to figure, you've been like coaching in terms of how to discipline players is not that much different from Mighty Mites to NFL in my mind. No, you should have known how to.
And what's crazy? I think the issue, and I was talking about this today amongst myself, because I had these talks with myself where we discuss things. And Joe Brady's only 30. And I'm thinking about that. I'm 24. Jack, you're 22. We're in the same group. Fam, it's got to be hard to imagine him really controlling a room full of grown men.
Because when you fill out those census forms and it says 20 to 30, we're on that same bubble. We press the same dot.
And go ahead, Joe.
Here's the gist, though. And you take a look at Teddy, and listen. I know I'm hard on him, and really, if you look at him right now, he's had 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he's thrown for 3,100 yards. His average, his quarterback rating is like 96.1. His best season as a starter, what playing was 2015 with Minnesota.
Yeah.
With 32-31, and he had 14 and 9. So he's not. It's just you want that quarterback though to take you to that next level. How many one-score games have we had?
7. We've had 7 one-score losses.
Ooh, broken record. And listen, I'm gonna go back to what Jack said too. Listen, Joe Brady. On 4th and 1, we'll get into it. I know on 4th and 1, 4th and 8, and you call that play? Is that what it was?
It was a drag route that he called, and Teddy, he's getting this name. It's Teddy Checkdown. It's what he keeps doing. This is why I take some slack away from Teddy. The line that we have right is not going to set up any quarterback for success other than maybe Cam. Because Cam was used to it. Cam knew what he had to do, and now he's actually getting to play with a good offensive line. But Teddy's being forced when you have only 3 or 4. He got sacked how many times today? 5? 4 at least? I look back up.
They maybe about 4 or 5 sounds about right. That sounds about what it was today.
And I mean, this is the Broncos, and it hurt more just because it was the Broncos. If they showed the Super Bowl 50 one more time, I was going to throw my TV away. I can't stand. I don't need to see it. It's done. It happened. Stop hurting me with it. It's like seeing an ex-girlfriend post pictures of her new hot boyfriend on Instagram. I don't need to see it. I understand you're happy.
When you make Drew Lock, you made Drew Lock look like John Elway.
Yeah, I was highly disappointed in that.
You made Drew Lock look like freaking Peyton Manning. It's like. You got to step back some and go. But, on that play, though, everybody's running 10 yards. There's nobody that's going to run less than 10 yards on a 4th and 8 play. Yeah, I want every one of my receivers running 10, 15 yards. You can't do it. You just can't. And I think he was sacked 5 times.
Yeah. And, I mean, I saw – I ain't going to lie, Jack. Like, I agree with you today about the offensive line. Like, this was – I had to step back and look at the game. I'm like, some of these plays are he doesn't have a chance. Like on the first play, on first down on that last drive, didn't have a chance.
No,
you run a play action trying to catch, load the defensive sleeve, get a chance to hit something over the top. I like the aggressiveness, but your offensive line gave you no shot. But there's moments where some of the sacks that he took were avoidable. Just get rid of the ball,
And see, I think he's being ailed now by those past interceptions where he was trying to get away from a sack and forcing the ball downfield when he didn't need to. I'm happy he doesn't do that as much. You don't see it as much now. Any turnovers that he causes, it's really not as forced as it was. And that's what I was complaining about that's what I was conversing about with this fan. I was like, look, he's played to what we need. It depends on the direction this team is trying to go. I still don't understand what that is. And for the money we paid, he's not playing like a franchise guy right now.
No.
He's playing like a solid quarterback. It's Teddy. I can't not like him. His storyline and if you like anyone who listened to the Panthers Brawl when we were doing that podcast, we talked about Teddy being a good fit. We talked about going after him, not the way that the Panthers did, but we talked about going after him. And so I think the problem is that then because the fan was also complaining about the defense. Well, the defense letting up touchdowns is one thing, and not being able to rely on your defense is one thing. But we knew what this defense was going to be coming into it. We knew this was going to be a very young defense. We have a lot of weapons on offense. I mean, this is a top 5 explosive offense, and you've seen it when Teddy's when Teddy's in the zone and has time to throw. He's getting it downfield to Curtis Samuel. He's getting it to Robbie, and these are some of the biggest yard after catch receivers in the NFL right now. Robbie, I think, was 9th. And DJ was, I think, at 6th or 7th, even with being out this week. So,
back to the point we made earlier about the 7 one possession losses. Man, this team is good enough. In all honesty, I know the defense has its moments where they look like absolute garbage, but they are actually good enough to get. You can take this team into the playoffs and possibly win a game if you had a quarterback that was capable of taking the game over late. Like, even Teddy at his best, I just don't believe could ever take a game over. Like, at any point in Teddy's career, in his NFL career, did we ever feel like he took a game over? Like, in Minnesota, I watched those Minnesota games. They played a very controlled offense. It was a lot of handoff to Adrian Peterson, controlled passes here and there, dink and dunk. He didn't throw for over how many? He threw for 3,300 yards that year in 2015.
Yeah.
And the same amount of touchdowns and interceptions. He's not going to do much. That just isn't him.
The interesting part is that I've been hard on Teddy. I have. But what you just said, and it got me thinking, if you go through it though, Shontis, let's think about it this way. How many quarterbacks out there are going to take a game over and win it? And let's be real. I mean, we can go Mahomes, although he didn't set the world on fire today.
Oh, no, he looked bad.
I mean, Lamar.
We have our answer, but it's going to – we have our answer, but they ain't going to like it because we know what it is. And I don't know if it'd be him right now, but –
Are you talking Cam?
Yes, I'm talking Cam. That's Cam's whole career was having to try to take these games over. I mean, he benefited from better defenses than we have right now, obviously. But I mean, Cam right now, I don't know if he'd be able to do that or not. And what it is to me, the stat that really irked me today, and they showed it when the defense lets up, because then the fan was also talking about how the offense, will put up we'll put the game away, and then the defense will let up those leads. First off, there's not been a game where our offense has put the lead away to where we have that big cushion. That has not happened. This offense, the red zone production is atrocious for this offense in terms of getting touchdowns. And yes, you can get field goals, whoop-de-doo, but at the end, I mean, that's just delaying the inevitable is what it is. And so this defense, like offense should never not want to stop scoring points. He was like, the offense just has to keep going? I'm like, well, every offense should want to keep going. Offenses are made to score points every drive. There's nothing wrong with running it up. But this team is 0-8 when letting up 22 points or more. What that means is we cannot score 3 touchdowns. We can't score more than 3 touchdowns. And win a ball game. We're 4-0 when not letting up 22 points because that's all the amount of points we can let up.
And I asked this question on Twitter. I said, is it time to start questioning Joe Brady's play calling? I'm like, not
100%.
He can call games pretty well for about three quarters and about 13 minutes. The last 2 is where I start questioning, like, fam, what are you doing? Like, there's one of the red zone possessions. Again, you throw. I think you threw another drag route, or it was an in cut. Why are you throwing anything short of the end zone?
Yeah.
Why do we keep the offense is pretty much predicated on, okay, we're gonna throw slants and drags and just let our receivers work the ball down the field after the catch. And I don't know the numbers for this like exactly. I would love to see what's Teddy's air distance yardage.
Oh, it's got to be small. It's got to be really small.
And I know we rank high in yards after catch with our receivers because we rely on our receivers to pretty much catch a 5-yard pass and just run for 15 yards. And that's what happens. Like look at the touchdown he had against Robbie Anderson had against Minnesota. It was a drag route. Robbie just took it the rest of the way. Nothing really is done on the quarterback's end aside from just getting him the ball. There's not much being done from the quarterback aside from just getting the ball to the receivers and let them handle the rest.
And whether that, the Teddy check down has become a product of, that offensive play calling or the fact that, like I said, he's got maybe 3 or 4 seconds to throw the ball every time he gets out there. And I mean, yeah, and that drag and let him go offense is all fine and good until you play a defense that understands how to work that zone. And then they have nothing else. It's like they're a one-trick pony.
That's a college offense.
Yeah, and it's a college offense.
And it just becomes too, I would have cut him some slack. I'd cut him slack 8 weeks ago or something when all of a sudden you get your first time coaching in the NFL, offense-wise or whatever, and you don't have CMC. Okay? We're 8 or 9 games in now. You should have adjusted your playbook to go, I don't have CMC.
And Christian hasn't played in 10 games. Christian hasn't played in 10 games this year, so it's not like you've had him.
Right. So what I'm getting at is at some point, you need to adjust your playbook accordingly to the players you have. And so that's why I'm saying, 10 weeks ago, I'd give him some slack. I'd cut him some slack going, there you go. You've lost that guy. You need to adjust and figure out you've got this personnel. How am I going to make play calls? I'm an NFL coach. And I'm beginning to wonder whether or not Brady will be here next year.
And remember, like, if you recall, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. When McCaffrey first went out, I said, this is honestly the best thing for Joe Brady because his offense was very dry. His play calling was very predictable because he had McCaffrey and was using, you're going to use McCaffrey, but you had to, we were waiting on this, freaking Sean McVayian, type of offensive play calling where he was, muddy balling it all up, and he was looking at that and he was going to make something happen that we hadn't seen before. He hasn't done squat to try to update his play calling. You have to it's like a broken record. He continues to do it. One guys we talked about that wasn't adjusting was also Phil Snow. This week, when you have a young defense like this, you're going to let up those, and you have the defensive backs we do, you're going to let up points. But what I like from him is I saw more pressure being put on. The problem then becomes if you don't get to the quarterback, like a guy like Drew Lock. See, if we had applied this pressure every game for the last 3 weeks, those are games we could have won because that's not as mobile as a guy like Drew Lock. But Drew Lock is a mobile guy and can hurt you. Like as bad, as young and as raw he is, he can hurt you if you don't tackle him. And, especially with our DBs and our linebackers.
Speaking of the defense and really just the team overall, a lot of people say we're young, we're trying to rebuild and everything, but I tell you this, most of the mistakes that we've made that have been critical in games, these are veteran players. Rasul Douglas is not young. He's young, but he's not a rookie.
There's a reason why he was available for us to get him like this.
This is very true, and it's starting to show now. Like I like the touchdowns he got beat on. Like, dog, why are you?
He was stumbling on the second one.
Which touchdown was the Hamler where he just stumbled? Like
that was the second one. See, he got beat by Hamler twice. Not even Jerry Jeudy. This Hamlet dude. I don't even know who this guy is. And he got burned by him twice.
And one of them that I saw where Jackson is playing off on the backside, and Douglas is supposed to be pressing, but you're in no man's land. You're not pressed up. You don't get a hand on them. You're in that 3 to 4 yard no man's land where if you get beat and you make one false step, it's over. And he did. And God,
Hamler didn't even like make a move on him. Hamler just did him dirty, and then Douglas just stopped running. I understand. I sympathize a little bit more with, and this is where the age comes into it. The first touchdown where Hamler was wide open and Judy. Well, actually, I don't entirely understand it because Judy baited and he went in the middle of the field. There were 5 defensive backs on Judy. I get it, it's Jerry Judy, and you're like, oh my God, you don't want to get. But 5 of y'all, not a single one of y'all looked to the other side of the field to go, hey, that guy's running. Hey, we should. No, I mean, no one looked at. Not a person looked at him, and that's where I don't know who our defensive back coach is. But Rasul's got to go. Stanley Thomas Olivier should not be on the field at all. I don't know why he's getting playing.
He's a 7th round pick, and there's a reason for that.
Well, they said that the last against the Vikings, and this might be telling it as to why we lost to the Vikings the way we did. All 7 players, all 7 rookies were on the field for the Viking game.
Well, crazy enough, I've liked how Troy Pryor has played the last few weeks, and even the penalty that he got wasn't egregious. I thought they could have let that penalty go, but I mean, I'd rather see Troy Pryor out there. I've at least seen Troy Pryor. He's starting to, there was one point where he looked like terrified to be out there. I'm starting to see his confidence rises enough to where he seems playable for at least 4 quarters. I would rather see him play and mess up than Douglas or Stanley Thomas Oliver.
Well, Stanley, we have too many dreaded defensive backs, so there's no more room for him. We have enough hair on the field that I don't know if it's impeding I don't know if it's impeding their sight or their coverage because their hair's in the way. And also, Dante needs to get whatever's wrong with his foot figured out. I don't know why we can't fix foot issues on the Panthers, but we can't. Our medical staff just the foot's an enigma to them. They don't understand it apparently because Dante he almost went down again. I think he came back in. Yeah. And it's funny. We talk about the veteran presence. There was one veteran who we were all horribly upset that we made a trade for to get rid of one of our best offensive linemen. When Russell Okung left the field, I swear to you, the offensive line played better. When he would come in, I think he came in and then immediately he had a holding penalty. Okay. Immediately. And I was like, okay. There was no, and we're starting to see more and more why that trade didn't make sense. We knew it didn't make sense from the get-go. And every week I see it, I'm like, we're getting absolutely nothing from Russell Okung. So
it's trying to be patient, man. I get the whole trying to be patient thing. And I remember when Tepper put the letter out talking about, just stay patient with us and everything. But it's hard when I see the moves you made, and then the moves you made weren't necessarily indicative of a rebuild. I'm okay. If we play Will Greer and we lose, I'm fine with that. But trading away Trey Turner for Russell Okung and trying to tell me that, we're trying to rebuild, but we signed a $60 million quarterback. We're trying to rebuild, but we signed a $20 million wide receiver.
What, the interesting part is when you talk about rebuild too, and it's a good point. When you go all defense on the side of the ball for the draft and really don't do a lot on the offensive side or whatever, that's not rebuilding. You got to take care of the entire team. And while I'm gonna be honest. Watching the Panthers so far, I'm gonna give Phil Snow a little bit of props because that defense has actually been okay for that young crew. They've done well, and I've seen them progress where the offense has not.
No,
I want to see the offense win a football game. If the defense gives you a shot, at some point the offense has got to step up to the plate. So rebuilding wise, get some offensive linemen. We'll talk about, I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, you got to figure out the quarterback spot, but I'm going to give the D a little credit in Phil Snow because we've seen the bright spots. We've seen the progression. So
they give you opportunities. I mean, you talked about it, and 7 of the losses, you've had a chance. You've had the ball last, and
they've stopped them. Yeah.
And it's wild because it's what we knew what was going to happen coming in it. We knew, all right, our defense is going to falter. They're young. It's going to be tough. The coach is not, we weren't as excited about Phil Snow. We're like, okay, that's kind of like, a nepotism thing. He's kind of just bringing someone that he knows. With Brady, we're like, oh my gosh, we have all these weapons. Brady's got this mind. We're going to be awesome on offense. It doesn't matter how many points the defense lets up because we're going to be scoring 35 every game. And that's complete reverse of what has actually happened. All the defense needs now is some players. They just need some experience and maybe a veteran presence there. The offense, it's the coaching that's the problem. We have the weapons clearly, even without McCaffrey. Even with McCaffrey, we still have one of the more volatile wide receiver trios that you can get. But we still need. And I mean, while the offensive line is bad, there is at least some experience there as long as they were coached well. But it's really hard. Like as far as offensive line goes, it's coaching, but you also need to have that instinct to know where you need to go and to know what to do. So
wasn't Matt Rule offensive line coach at one point? Wasn't Matt Rule offensive line coach?
Matt Rule was the coach like in every position at one point. But yes, he was at one point offensive line. I don't remember if that was in NFL or college, but he's been a coach for everything at one point or the other. And see, this is going to bring an interesting part in terms of rebuild, in terms of money. We have two big contracts, Curtis Samuel and Taylor Moton. We got to go with one or the other. For me, Taylor definitely had a slow start, but he is 100% developed. And now with Trey gone, he's basically the anchor of that offensive line. For me, I'm sorry. I love Curtis and I love seeing him explode. Yeah. We have DJ. We have Robbie. Robbie's had, a reawakening for the Panthers. We knew what he was on the Jets, but given the chance now, he's been doing really, really well with us. And DJ, while he's still waiting for him to, hit that next level, in my mind, at least, in terms of, I don't know about y'all, but I'm re-signing Taylor.
Yeah, you have to, because we've seen how bad this offensive line is, and I love Curtis, and but the Patriots butchered this situation as well, because Curtis was due last year. You could have resigned him this past offseason and got that out of the way. But you waited, and now you're gonna have to pay up. Curtis is gonna demand some real money come this offseason. You ain't gonna be there's gonna be a team out there. I don't know who, and I honestly think it may be New England. They're gonna try to make a bid for Curtis Samuel.
Oh yeah, I can easily see that.
Somebody, because Curtis, remember when he first got there, he wasn't a wide receiver, he was a running back. He was just a guy you just get handed the football and let him go. He can run routes. He can really run routes. I seen him get better each and every year, and this year he's hitting his stride right at the right time, because it's contract season. Like, he's played his way into a good deal. You gave money already to Robbie Anderson. That pretty much told you what you thought of Curtis Samuel going into the season. Like, you knew that, like, you're gonna either have to prove it or we're gonna probably let you walk. But they're probably just gonna have to let him walk.
I think that you got to go offensive line. You got to get him re-signed. And Curtis has done well, but if you are going to protect, listen, there's been a lot of talk here on radio, and you guys would be losing your mind in Charlotte. There are people in Charlotte who've said, "Let CMC go. He's done." No. Listen, there was a conversation for about an hour the other day on a local radio station, SportsWise or whatever, and the argument this guy made was that, is CMC done? No, and what he meant was, listen, you had this injury, now you've had this injury. Are we looking at Cam all over again? Is the medical staff not doing something? But the gist is, if CMC is your future, there is no decision to make about who you re-sign in the offseason. You've got to get the beef up front. And I will go back. I'll go back to the and I'm gonna pull them in. But for 7 years in a row, the Tennessee Titans went offensive line at first pick for 7 straight years, first pick, and that was Bruce Matthews and Mike Munchak and that entire offensive line. You're gonna protect CMC. You have no choice of who you re-sign. You hate to see Curtis go, but you got to do it. You have no choice.
And that speaks more to the coaching too, is because what I hated today was seeing when DJ's out. Obviously, who is that defensive coach? Who are the Broncos going to cover? Go cover Robbie. That's their number one guy. When you don't throw it to Curtis at all in the first half, and that could be a Teddy thing, or that could be the routes that that Brady was having Curtis. I mean, we saw his production in the second half. When Teddy was doing well, it was because he was throwing to Curtis, and Curtis was making plays. And I mean, hell, even Pharaoh Cooper made a couple plays. It was awesome to see.
I've been trying to figure out, why did you start Brandon Zucchini instead of playing Pharaoh Cooper?
Yeah.
I don't know what Zylstra did in practice, but I know when a guy can't play. And not that he can't. He's a blocking wide receiver. If I want to run like a triple option offense, Brandon Zylstra can be my number one. But if I want to actually put playmakers on the field and DJ's out, I got Pharaoh Cooper for a reason. This guy can make plays if I put him out there on the field. Like, I'm not asking him to be my number one, but I can let him go out there and run some runs and actually create some offense for me at some point.
It was just aggravating to see. And so we saw, obviously, like, And Brady, like when we talk about the offense, they do well, but they don't do well for an entire game. They ought not, like we talked about the defense not playing an entire game, and we expected that. This offense has not played. Brady has not coached an entire game. They have, like it was indicative of like the Vikings game. When they are letting up 30 points average in their home stadium, and you can only score one offensive touchdown, and that was in the first quarter, that's ridiculous. And I understand McCaffrey. So McCaffrey's our X factor, and I get that. And he's a big reason for why we've had this red zone production issues because, normally when we got to the red zone, it was just giving McCaffrey the ball. He'll find any different way to get in the end zone. So that's why I think he's not done. Honestly, what I think it is, they understand what the season is. They understand what football is during COVID. I really just don't think they're rushing to get him back in. Because you saw what happened with guys like Zeke, or you see with Chris Carson, or with Saquon Barkley. They say they're healthy. They say they're fine. They go out, they play a game, boom, they're out again. And with people like Barkley, it's a little bit different because, he tore his ACL. But when you have guys like Chris Carson or, Josh Jacobs, they've been on and off again. And these are your main – and you see how those teams falter when they're not in. Because they're not, complete teams. The Raiders and the Seahawks are not complete teams, but they go off of, the momentum they get from the running backs. And so I think, if anything, Rule understands, the season in the grand scheme of things doesn't entirely matter, especially if they're trying to rebuild in a project that's going to take, multiple years that they need McCaffrey for. He's your king. So you let him, kind of sit around a little bit and make sure he's completely healthy. So in my mind, I don't think he's done anywhere near. No. I just think that they're really not trying that hard. I've had questions about our medical staff for a while but you think, Charlotte is huge for orthopedics and it's huge for sports medicine. So I don't know what happens there.
Okay, explain to me this, because this is where everybody's getting at. He was set to play.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there is a leg injury, but they never went any further. Nobody said anything further about what it was, what the leg injury was or whatever. So are they just, I agree. I don't think he's not done. Do I think he's done for the season? Yes. Yeah. I don't think he steps on the field again.
No. Like I said, there's really no reason to. We're out of the playoff push. If there's COVID.
Right. Why would you? It doesn't make any sense if you're going to protect him. But the fact that, and that's what was happening here in Charlotte with the radio and the media and stuff, has been, where did this come from all of a sudden? And then has he just taken such a hit? What year is he? Is this his third?
Fourth
year.
I think it's fourth.
And he's just taken such a beating the last 2 years that he's.
But we knew at one point this was going to happen. I know everybody just gets caught up in how versatile he is, but he's still taking hits. He's still not a big guy. The fact that he went the 2 years that he went with that much volume of touches and didn't get hurt was amazing in and of itself. But you can't keep taking those hits that consistently. And our offense never grew outside of McCaffrey.
No,
we never. When he's on the field, we just get so fixated on feeding him the ball because he's such an easy option to go with. Because it's a guaranteed 5 to 6 yards, but the offense never developed outside of McCaffrey. So now it relies so heavily on him when he's out there that he can't really exist in the offense and just exist within the confines of the offense. He is the offense.
Well, and that's what we said with Brady. Him being out was the best thing for Brady because Brady was just using him all the time. Now he can do, bring up these offenses we need. And I don't know what it is about Charlotte sports in general. I don't know why we don't understand that you can build off of more than one player. We did it with Cam, we did it with Kemba, and we've done it with McCaffrey. And you beat these stars into submission by not surrounding them with any talent to add to them. And then they play until they get burned out. And we saw it with Cam. He was playing with a shoulder injury for 3 weeks before we knew it, but because it felt like he couldn't leave the field. We've seen it with Kemba. Kemba's trying to lead that team, and now his leg is almost, fallen off. And we've done the same thing with McCaffrey. You saw there are situations where obviously people have learned how to go around that. The Titans were there for a little bit. When they realized how good Derrick Henry was, they kind of just stuck with him for a year. After the DeMarco Murray situation, they kind of just stuck with him. But then they were smart about it. They go and drafted a guy like A.J. Brown. They go and get, guys like Corey Davis, and they build upon their talent, and they get a line around them to, add to the talent of their star player. And now you're seeing the success come about. A.J. Brown's looking like a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL right now. And they're
can I ask Shontis something? This is completely off radar here. You know what's coming back, right? Shontis, can we put Derrick Henry in the MVP talk, if not at the top?
Yeah. And he's got. With the way Mahomes has looked this season, I'm not putting it on him.
He's got. It really was just his one game, but he's out of there. I ain't gonna lie. Aaron Rodgers probably the front runner right now. Derrick Henry, if if he continues on the pace he's on, I can see them giving it to Derrick Henry because I've been more impressed with what Derrick Henry has done than Aaron Rodgers. This year for Aaron Rodgers is really just honestly he's had better seasons than I remember. Derrick Henry's on pace to do something. I mean, he's not. I don't think he's on pace for any like crazy like not any NFL record breaking numbers, but he is carrying the load for that team.
He needs 156-yard average the last 3 games to get to 2,000.
And he's been getting closer and closer. He had it in the playoffs, did he not, last year?
He gets to 2,000 in the regular season, but that's a whole different story. Sorry, Jack. I want to go back to what you said real quick though, and you hit it right on. You hit the nail on the head. Look at what we did to Kemba. Look at what we did to Cam. Look at what we're doing to CMC. And the gist is, and Shontis mentioned it, this kid can't continue to take hit after hit after hit after hit and survive. And he's not a 30. You can't give him the ball 30 times. He's not, a 6'4", whatever Derrick Henry is. We said he couldn't run up the middle. And here's the thing I love. All this talk about CMC being done and stuff like it. If I'm CMC, I know he's just sitting there. It's fuel in the fire.
Right.
Yeah. He's like game one. Get me healthy, and next year we're gonna rock it out.
Right.
Yes. So I'm not. What they're doing here is they understand how much money they've given this guy, and they know he's your whole city right now in terms of sports. So you have to keep him healthy for the long haul. So they're realizing, like we said, I mean, when we talked about when he went out for the Chiefs game, I was like, you know what? Honestly, just leave him out. I understand it. The season does not entirely. I mean, it sucks to say the season doesn't matter. It really does. We're past the point of making the playoffs. Even if we made the playoffs, we weren't going to go far. No. And we're in this rebuild project that the team wants, and that's what we got to do. We got to keep it. But of course, we know what we believe. We got to think of what some other fans too. So we've got another fan for you this week. We got his name's Brock Sale. We're going to add him on. So hey, Brock, how you doing, man?
How's it going? Yeah, glad to be on. Can't wait.
Glad to have you on, man. So I mean, you heard the conversation we were having talking about McCaffrey. What are your thoughts on him? Playing the season or not?
Well, as a Panthers fan who's looked at every option on how we can win in the next 5 years, I've been thinking about even trading McCaffrey for do you think we could get a first round pick for Christian McCaffrey with his current?
I'm wanting more than a first round pick.
But look at D-Hop. What did D-Hop go for? A 5? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to get Christian for a first round pick. It's hard to sell that. Like it's hard to sell. Spend a first round pick on a beat up running back. If he's beat up, but
Mm-hmm. I think he's still powerful though. Like he's Christian McCaffrey. There's no reason to play him the rest of the season. I want a draft pick, so I think it's better that he sits out the rest of the season. Lets the young guys get better. Jeremy Chin is our next star. You said we needed guys on defense. Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, those are our guys on defense. I like what Troy Pride's doing, and I like what some of the other new guys, Dante Jackson, like people like that are doing, but we need to get the young guys to improve and let the rest of the guys rest and wait up for next season, because I think if we can get some offense going, we have a really solid chance at the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. And so you talk about that draft pick. If you're the GM, what are you using that draft pick for?
Offensive line.
Thank you. Yes.
We need it. There's no reason that we shouldn't go anything else besides a linebacker. Maybe somebody. I think our secondary can produce. We've shown that we can play well with Rasul Douglas, somebody who gets waived by the Eagles, who have some of the worst secondary in the league. And if we can play well with those guys, I think we can do awesome if we have some linebackers to help out Derek Brown and K'Wan Short back there next year.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because we talked about it. I mean, they were sending pressure, and it was awesome. But the problem is, if you don't get to the quarterback, then the cornerbacks are just leaving these receivers wide open. At least that's what we saw today. So I like that. I mean, in my mind, it would go, probably I'd say lineman first, then second rounder you get a DB, and then maybe linebacker. Because I mean, we got Luke in. I can actually remember what round we got Luke in. I don't remember if it was first or second.
It was first. I think it was mid-round first, though.
I say either. So I mean, that's more of a question for Tyler too. He's our draft junkie. But so I mean, what were your thoughts on today's game? If you got the chance to watch it.
I mean, today's game was hard to watch because I want to do well so bad, and I also want to it feels bad to say, but I want to lose so we can get that better draft pick. But I liked what I saw on the offense a little bit more today than any other day. We were blocking well. Our combo blocks have actually been better, and I think that's because of we actually have a solid O-line that hasn't been getting hurt every couple games. Like there's some guys that are switching in and out, but I still think that it's a good unit. And I don't know. I like to see Teddy improvise a little bit more because if he's going to be our quarterback for the next 2 years, then he's going to have to learn how to work without the best wide receivers because they might not all be playing at the same time like we've seen.
So then you've heard us talk about it. What are your thoughts on Teddy? I mean, are you sticking with him for the next 2 years?
I am just like Jeff. I'm super hard on Teddy because I had high hopes. I had hopes that he would just be a game manager and let our stars, because I had, before the season even started, I said DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson is going to be a great duo. I loved Robbie Anderson in New York, and I was super excited when we got him, and people said the contract was high, but I didn't think so. And I thought Teddy was just going to be able to dink and dunk stuff and let Christian McCaffrey and our stars just win the game for us.
Yeah. And it hurts now when you don't get to see something like that happen. But then just thinking on the rest of what is your thoughts on the game coming up next week?
That's against the Packers on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I see like a 200-yard rushing game. I do, because we're gonna go so hard against the pass, and because we need to, and if we don't, Aaron Rodgers will take over the game. But our rushing defense has played not that great this entire season, so I think that Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, fresh bodies in there, is going to be lethal.
I think you go, Jeff.
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question, Brock. We talk about Teddy, and I have been hard on him and stuff, but I'm starting to realize, and Shontis has kind of shifted me a little bit. I'm starting to get a little disappointed in Joe Brady and some of the players. And I struggle now with, is it really Teddy or is it the play calls?
Mm-hmm. I liked what you said about that 4th and 8. Why is there even a guy on a drag?
Right.
There's no reason for that besides maybe trying to spread the field to get Robbie Anderson a little bit more space, but still, it's 4th and 8. You're going to have to put the ball in the right spot. You got to get the first down. If you're not at the sticks, it doesn't matter. We can't go for yards after catch on a 4th and 8 play when we have a chance to win the game. And we've seen Teddy make mistakes on that last drive. He's had more last drive picks than last drive wins. And the Bears one on the first play, that was
I can't. And so that's why people complain about, the defense setting up those positions, but also the offense does it just enough to set themselves up for those positions by not, scoring in the red zone. What confuses me, because I've actually when he's done it a couple times on some of these 4th and 8s or whenever you're doing it, or even more in the red zone, I want to see that QB draw more, because that has worked almost every time we have run it. The block, for whatever reason, now the offensive line knows how to block for a design run. They didn't do it for half the time with Cam, but Teddy, that play has worked multiple times, both in the red zone and outside. Call that play more, because it obviously worked.
I liked it because, sometimes I think Teddy has better vision on the run than the pass. You can't see downfield unless he's running the ball and he's juking people out. He's making plays. I think we just need to do what works, and that's plays to get the ball to our fast guys on the outside and let them run. Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. DJ Moore does not go down. He's fast, and he will fight for the extra yards. And
you said something, Brock, that got to me. Yeah, about, and it makes me think of something. I think about quarterbacks in the past who have the ability to run, and yet coaches want to make them a pocket passer and not let them run.
Yeah,
and I've seen times where Cam Newton's gotten back there, and it's like the parting of the Red Sea in front of him, where he could run for 30 yards, and yet I got to throw the ball. I'll go back to Titans with Marcus Mariota. There were times where Marcus Mariota, I'm like, run the ball, and yet he's got to sit back there and pass because you've got to be Tom Brady. You've got to be Aaron Rodgers. And Teddy Bridgewater, 4th and 8, nobody's probably expecting the draw.
No.
Right?
I mean, that's like a Madden play call. You send everyone deep. That means all the corners are going. So, hey, QB runner, you got free space.
Exactly.
I think I just think the biggest thing with the Panthers is that Teddy does it, Brady will do it, the defense will do it. They'll show you these signs that they can be great, and they'll get your hopes up. And then they'll do what the Panthers do, and then they'll just kind of they'll kill it. They'll break your heart.
But I think it's a new era, and I think that we're getting past that breaking your heart era. And it is like you said, Joe Brady's 30 years old. This is his first time, or not his first time in the NFL, but his first time as a full offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
And I think that he's doing all right, but I don't know if he trusts Teddy. I think that that's a big part of it, because they said that he fit well in the first 2 weeks of practice, and then Joe Brady shut up about Teddy the rest of the season. I haven't heard one word.
And with that being the case, is this on Joe Brady? Because Joe Brady had Teddy while he was in New Orleans. did he make a mistake by telling Matt Rule, go get him? If we're gonna start our franchise anew, let's go get Teddy. Like, do we give Joe Brady more blame for this now?
I think we do. We have like what 12 players from a Temple roster on our team. Like, what? I get it. You know the guys. They might do well in your system. They might be more coachable. But do we really need Colin Thompson? Or
yeah?
Do we really need some of these other guys? We drafted a lot of guys from Baylor and Temple, and I don't know how I feel about it.
And see, that's another crazy. You just mentioned that too, and that got me thinking. That's also, how is it so hard to coach up these young guys if you've been playing with them and coaching them for years now? You've coached them before. Why are you having issues coaching them now? That's a big thing.
I'm gonna go off and make a bold prediction here. Joe Brady ends up being the head coach at Auburn.
Oh, that's
with Gus Malzahn gone.
He's like, this NFL stuff is for the birds. I'm going back to college.
Hey.
If Auburn goes talking, you don't think Joe Brady might think about, hey, I'll go?
Hey, crazy enough, before Shane Beamer got hired in South Carolina, I would have mind Brady leaving if he was going to South Carolina. That's
what I was thinking too.
I didn't even think about it. I think they'll give Brady some more time. I don't think he's going to be gone right away because I'm hoping that now, for whatever reason, Twitter and the sports world was like, oh, Brady's going to be a head coach next year. I hope that's died down. People are saying that's not the case because it's not the case.
Let me throw one more thing at Brock real quick. Here's one for you, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson or Carson Wentz?
Deshaun Watson.
That's not even a question.
10%. Deshaun Watson, he had a Habitat for Humanity, and Cam Newton bought him or built him a house back in the day. He's gone to Panthers games. I've seen him in Panthers gear before.
He's from the area, if I'm not mistaken.
From the area. He went to Clemson. I see Deshaun Watson coming over in free agency. He wants out of the Houston Texans organization so fast, and he's doing well with Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore are just a better version of those guys.
Yeah.
I want Deshaun Watson. Now, think about that. He's our Cam Newton that can move, and he's our pocket passer. He can do it. He can do it all, and especially in Joe Brady's system, I love it.
Yep,
that'd be beautiful.
And now he did just re-sign on a big deal on Fairly, if I'm not mistaken. So, are you possibly okay with trying to make a deal between Watson and McCaffrey? Is that something that you were putting in your plan?
I would say for the draft pick this year.
Okay,
because they need something. And they gave away their pick to the Dolphins. They don't have a pick.
They don't have a pick.
Good Lord. I always complain about our GM, but could you imagine if we had Bill O'Brien? You know how much worse it could have been? CMC'd be gone. We'd be playing with guys from Mighty Might Football. It would be atrocious. Well, Brian, so we're actually going to talk about it here in a sec, but we're going to go ahead and let you get out of here. So thank you again for coming on and talking to us. It was awesome having you with us.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Have a good one.
Well, again, thanks, Brock, for coming on and talking with us. That was awesome getting to talk to you. And, guys, so also, while this was happening while we were talking, the Eagles upset the Saints with who at the helm? With who at the helm but Jalen Hurts?
Hey, we told y'all
months ago that Wentz was gone and Hurts was the man.
Eagles have one of two choices. Either $59 million or they let him go and it's $29 million.
Bye, Birdie.
How do you feel they think? They talk about it.
They gotta be sick.
You gotta be sick.
You are burning. You're basically just burning paper up there.
Yeah. You're burning cash. Who's going to take him? I know I was joking around.
The Colts would honestly, I think he could take the Colts to another level with the team they have, because if Phillip Rivers he can cut down his turnovers there in Indianapolis, I believe Carson Wentz could do the same thing. I believe there's another level to get to if you add Carson Wentz, because I still believe in his talent. He has to get somewhere where
they said he had no offensive line, but of course Hurts comes in and I don't think he got sacked once.
They got Lane Johnson. They got that other. They have a line.
The one thing I said it on Twitter during probably like the first quarter. That team played different under Jalen Hurts, and it's the same problem they've had with every quarterback that's played besides Carson Wentz. They rally around those guys. Like Nick Foles is not a great quarterback, but damn, they actually like him. so that you actually play. I mean,
I don't think Carson's a leader. I just don't think he is. I don't think he's a rallier. I don't think he's a leader. I've been against him from the beginning. I've never thought he was what people thought he was going to be and what they thought he is. I've been like, everyone hold your horses. And I'm just saying, I mean, Shontis, we talked about it when the draft. I was like, I want all the smoke. Give it to me because Hurts is going to be starting by the end of the year.
We told him, if you draft the quarterback in the first 3 rounds, that guy is being drafted to potentially take the job at some point. Yeah.
So you would stick with Bridgewater over the chance to get Wentz?
100%. I'm not taking Wentz.
Yeah, I'd rather stick with Bridgewater.
If he can't do it with that line, because they actually do have offensive linemen. I know they do. He won't be able to do it with us. And Brock hit it right on the nose there. I mean, Deshaun Watson, he's used to having to run for his life. So he'll be right at home with our offensive line.
If our pick somehow becomes like a top 5 pick, I think I may ship that away in a second for Deshaun Watson.
Like, 100%.
Oh, I don't think it's not if you're top 5 pick and you could get Deshaun for it,
I'm okay with that. You can get a solid offensive lineman in the second round. I know, and we're not getting a quarterback in the first round. There's no quarterback right now that I want that would be able to perform better.
What do you think we got to ship away McCaffrey along?
That's what I was asking him.
Just to match the money that Deshaun Watson deal would be worth. Like, do you know?
I would do it in a heartbeat.
I don't know about I would have trouble sleeping at night. I would not be the worst. I would be mad because we're losing McCaffrey, but in the scheme of things, with how many, I mean, Watson has a longer window of success, I think, that'll actually be impactful. Especially like Brock said it too. If he can do well with Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks, oh my God, with Robbie and he said it in the Joe Brady offense, we got to see the Joe Brady offense because we still haven't seen that in my mind.
Look, the Joe Brady offense can actually go vertical if you get Deshaun Watson because you have a quarterback that can actually push it down the field instead of just throwing drag routes all the time.
I mean, worst case scenario, CMC's damage goods. Worst case scenario.
Yeah,
and let's say he's 90% the rest of his career.
I mean, that's still better than most running backs.
Well, I agree, and I have a hard time in the right system doing it the right way. I hate when people say, you don't sign a running back for big dollars because they're gone in a year or two. Listen, CMC is a stud. I mean, he takes care of himself. I think this is just a fluke year, the COVID, everything else, and he comes back next year. But Deshaun Watson would answer your quarterback question for the next 8 years.
Oh, yes.
At least. And then you actually spend time building talent around him, getting a line. I mean, you've already got weapons for him, more weapons than Cam ever had.
If you throw it, like Shontis said, and Shontis, get downfield, throw the ball downfield. Mike Davis running the ball. I mean, I'm just saying.
Look, when I look at divisions in football, I look at quarterbacks for each team. Every team, any team that wins the division, I look at their quarterback. New England won their division for 10 years in a row because they had the best quarterback. I look at the quarterbacks in our division; they're all aging, or you really just don't know. I mean, Drew Brees is almost done. His clock is ticking. Matt Ryan's clock is also ticking. And Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. I mean, that's the time's almost up on him too.
Yeah.
So I mean, go get Deshaun Watson. You then have the youngest, the best quarterback probably out of that division right now.
You're a leg up for 3 or 4 years. You're a leg up for 3 or 4 years.
At least.
Now you go fix your defense, and then boom, now you're a contender.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just, I don't know what we need to do to shake the front office of the Panthers and go, listen to us, please. All these fans see it, but you can't see it. There's no way we can have better vision than you. There's no way. I understand it's easier. It's easier to criticize from the outside, but I mean, I can't imagine Tepper's happy with some of the moves that have been made. He's a businessman. I think there's no way that he can be optimistic about some of the moves they've made and the deals they've made.
Tepper shouldn't be happy with himself because he's the one decided to keep Marty Hurney.
Yeah, I don't know why that was. I don't know why he's still here. I don't know why he's still here.
You vexed out the best coach in franchise history and the best quarterback, and you kept the worst GM.
Yeah. I don't know what there's this Charlotte sports. They just don't think right. I don't know what it is about the city. I can't do it. But anywho, we'll look ahead now to Saturday prime time. We get a prime time game. Woohoo! I don't know who decided to make. I think that happened back when we at least were winning games. I don't know who decided to make that happen. But
this is gonna be nasty.
Well, I mean, so you say that, but we've seen how the Panthers have performed against the Packers, even when their team's not been the best. It happened last year. We were literally a yard away from winning that Packers game.
Yeah.
Last year. We beat them in 2017. That was still, with all the elements we had there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, they always seem to surprise a little bit when playing. It's a weird matchup when we play the Packers.
Yeah, it'll probably be much like the Kansas City game where we thought we were going to get the doors blown off, and we hang around there for a minute. That first quarter will probably tell me a lot, though.
Yeah,
that first half will probably tell me a lot about how that game will go.
Yeah, and I mean the players. The fire is there. You see it in the defense, and you see they want to continue to succeed. They're not complacent. I don't know if the coaches are the same way, but I mean we're seeing it from the way they are on field. They want to continue to win, so they're going to play their hearts out regardless.
It's at Green Bay,
right?
Yeah, it's at Green Bay too in the middle of December.
Oh yeah, that's why I was looking over my phone. If anybody's wondering, yeah. High of 37, a low of 25 with rain and snow showers.
Fun.
And Green Bay's ready for that. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Green Bay's the best team in the NFC right now.
I don't know that we are. In terms of the Panthers, can you pound Mike Davis 30 times or something and get it going? But
see, I'm remembering why we held it. We were close last year because it was also snowing like crazy, and that's because we just fed the ball to McCaffrey every drive. So, without that,
25 degrees. Aaron Rodgers, 25 degrees weather, snow in December.
He's money.
Yeah, that's not a recipe that makes me happy. So I'm gonna go. These are getting harder and harder every week. Not even just like trying to predict it, just emotionally. I'm gonna go 31-13.
I was thinking that, but I'm gonna go 30-21. We lose.
Okay.
I'm going 41-14.
Oof.
I did that one time, and I missed horribly.
But the sad part is it's the Panthers.
So I really don't know.
And the gist is, Kansas City's going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
This is going to be a blowout. This is going to be a blowout. Will they break your heart again and be there with a minute to go or 2 minutes to go?
Probably.
I picked Kansas City to be a blowout, and I picked the second meeting against Tampa. I actually picked us to win that game, honestly. So
yeah, I've been trying to be optimistic. It's just but you're right, and I said it to Brock too. They get your hopes up. They prove that they can. They look like they can actually win ball games, and then in the last second, it was lights back like in 2013. I think we had at least 7 or 8 games where we lost by 1 score that year too, and it was so annoying to watch. And so this year, But the problem is that they don't make these adjustments. And how are you not running 2-minute drills every day in practice? At least I hope they are.
We have to be the worst 2-minute drill team I've seen.
Really, it's horrible. And so it's like a broken freaking record. Look, are they not watching film? Are they I didn't know. It's really, to me, it falls on the coaching. It's so undisciplined and it's so uninspired from your coaching.
And it looks the same every time.
It does.
It's always one mistake on those last drives.
And if it wasn't the Packers having everything to play for right now, in terms of the number 1 seed,
yeah, because they just clinched the division today, so that's a bit of a help.
And they have the number 1 seed right now because of the tiebreaker.
I was gonna say because of the tiebreaker they have it right now.
10-3, they're 10-3, and then you got the Rams and the Seahawks at 9-4. You don't want to be,
they got to play.
They got to play.
They got to play, and it'll just be interesting. But I just think the weather, they're not built for that. I don't think that I just don't see where the Panthers are built for that at all.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to watch because they'll probably do a little well, at least Shontis, that first quarter will tell me how the game's going to go. The first quarter, the first few drives, it's just because they don't seem to make the adjustments anywhere through. So whatever plays there, whatever it looks like in the first quarter, that's how it's going to be. I mean, this was the only game where I've seen the offense actually make a spurt of, changing half to half. I mean, it was abysmal in the first half. Second half, they were actually looking productive and, actually doing well. So, I mean, if I see more of that, I'll be okay. We see it in such small spurts.
Yeah,
right.
I just want consistency, and that's one thing you see with young teams. Consistency is always the biggest issue, and it's the same here. Nothing different,
And if there's one person I would love to just see get handed to him on a platter, it's Aaron Rodgers because I just can't see him. So.
Well, we're all going to be praying for that the next week, and we'll just wait and see what's going to go down. And until then, but I mean, we're going to be here, even if, because we are consistent at least. We're going to be there for you with content every week, no matter how the Panthers do. So until then, y'all, keep pounding.